Good evening, Mount Vernon. Today is October 8th, 2025. And we actually have a lot of things on the agenda for tonight. We have two public hearings, and then we also have public speakers, public comment period, and then we have the legislative agenda. So just want to let everybody know what the layout of today's meeting is going to be. Before we get into any of the items for today, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. If you are in-house, and can you hear me? Because I wasn't talking in the mic. All right, is that better? Awesome. All right, so if you have a cell phone, please put it on mute or turn it off so that it doesn't go off while folks are speaking today. If you need to take a call, please step out into the hallway. The acoustics in here isn't great, so we can hear things up here even when you're whispering. If you need to use the restroom, there's a restroom straight out the double doors. The ladies' room is on the right-hand side. The men's restroom is by the main staircase. If you need to exit, I encourage you to take the stairs, which is the main staircase is through the double doors, and there's a second exit in the back. You can make a right, and it'll take you to a set of stairs that'll take you down to the ground level. As I mentioned, this is we do have two public hearings. We're going to start first with the driveway public hearing. City Clerk, may we have the call of the meeting?
Thank you, Council President.
Actually, before you do that, can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes.
I'll do it. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Awesome. All right, now can we have the call of the meeting, please?
Yes. Today is the City Council public hearing and regular meeting. We are here in the City Council chambers. Today is Wednesday, October 8th, starting at 7 p.m. for an amendment to Section 227-13.A, depressed curb for driveway entrance of the Code of the City of Mount Vernon to increase maximum permitted driveway width from 12 linear feet to 18 linear feet, code amendment, and the City of Mount Vernon Comprehensive Plan and Vision of Mount Vernon, followed by the regular City Council meeting. This meeting was noticed in the Journal News, advertised on September 23rd, September 30th, and October 6th. It was also in the Rotunda here at City Hall and posted on our social media and blasted in that email blast.
Thank you very much. So for this public hearing, we're going to start with any written correspondence. Do we have any written correspondence?
I have not received any written correspondence for this public hearing for the driveway width.
Okay. Commissioner Rouse, did you want to say anything about this driveway legislation?
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, council members. For those who don't know me, I'm Commissioner James Rouse from the Department of Planning and Community Development. We're just very excited to be at this point, to have presented a comprehensive plan to this. What do you
We're
want?
doing the driveway legislation first.
Sure.
I'll call you back up for that one. All right. So if we have any speakers for this legislation, please come up, and that's speakers online and in-house of City Council chambers. If we have any speakers for the driveway legislation, please come up. Anyone online? And the third and final call, if we have anyone for the driveway legislation, please come up or speak out online. All right, and then we'll move on to any against the legislation. Any against, please come up and feel free to speak out online. All right, and if we have any against the legislation, please come forth or speak out online. In the third and final call, if we have any against the legislation, please speak up or walk up or speak out online. All right, looks like we have no speakers. Do we have a motion to close this hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing regarding driveway width.
Second.
Sorry, I got a little excited, guys, so that motion doesn't carry because we haven't taken attendance. May we have a roll call, please?
Thank you. Councilman Box Hill,
Present.
Councilwoman Gleason,
Here,
Councilman Potteet,
Here.
Councilman Thompson,
Here.
Council President Brown.
Here, so I'll go back through and just say, are there any speakers online or in-house who would like to speak for the legislation? Are there any speakers online or in-house who would like to speak for the legislation? Are there any speakers online or in-house who would like to speak for the legislation? And against, speakers in-house or online that would like to speak against? Speakers online or in-house that would like to speak against? And speakers online or against, online or in-house who would like to speak against? All right, you wanna try that again for me, Councilwoman Gleason?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
May we have a roll call?
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Brown.
Aye. That concludes that public hearing. We're gonna move on to the public hearing for the comprehensive plan. Clerk, may we have the call of the meeting, please?
Thank you, Council President. City Council public hearing and regular meeting today, Wednesday, October 8th, starting at 7 p.m. here in the City Council chambers. This is an amendment to Section 227-13.a, depressed curbway for driveway entrance of the Code of the City of Mount Vernon to increase maximum
Clerk?
permitted driveway width from 12 linear feet to
Clerk?
18 linear.
Are we moving on to the comp plan? It's all combined? Gotcha.
Sorry. It's cheaper that way for the Journal News. And City of Mount Vernon Comprehensive Plan, Envision Mount Vernon, followed by our regular city council meeting. This was noticed in the Journal News, advertised on September 25th, October 5th, and it will be noticed on October 10th to let our constituents know about our second public hearing, which is scheduled for October 14th. This was noticed in the Rotunda, on our social media platform, and blasted out in our email.
Thank you very much. May we have a roll call for this public hearing, please?
Yes. Councilman Box Hill,
Present.
Councilwoman Gleason,
Here,
Councilman Potteet,
Present.
Councilman Thompson,
Here.
Council President Brown.
Here. All right, Commissioner Rose, take two.
My apologies. The echo in here. Again, Commissioner James Rouse, Department of Planning and Community Development. And again, thank you, Council President, council members, and to residents who are here to speak on the comprehensive plan. We're very proud to have presented a draft comprehensive plan to City Council. It was over 2.5 years worth of effort with over 30 public outreach meetings through community conversations, public workshops, and public surveys. We worked with our consultant team here, represented by Patrick Cleary from Cleary Consulting. That also included AKRF, Hudson Valley Partner for Progress, BRS Incorporated, and Creative Urban Alchemy. The plan that you have before you is a culmination of all that work that addresses, again, 2.5-year effort that will provide a 10-year vision for the city. One thing I have said throughout these outreach meetings is that the comprehensive plan is a beginning and not an end. So this will be our guide point to, roll up our sleeves and do the work. What we have done, and I'll let Pat talk a little bit more about it. Clerk Bonilla, I don't know if a PowerPoint was sent to you. Okay. Regarding, Deputy Commissioner Molina will send it to you, but I'll speak a little bit to it. Working with that consultant team and conducting that outreach, we look to address about a dozen key areas throughout the city, ranging from housing to open space to economic development to preserving Mount Vernon's historic legacy and improving government service. This is not only a land use plan, this is a plan to grow communities. It's a plan to preserve communities. Since the draft has been issued, I know some conversations have been had about what they've seen in the comprehensive plan. Tonight, we're not going to address each individual comments. What we intend to do is to listen to public comments, take them and to work with the consultants to address them individually afterwards and incorporate certain changes from those public comments into the comprehensive plan. What I will say is just from some of the conversations we have heard, I want to emphasize that what folks have seen, particularly in the what's called the placemaking chapter, which talks about density and provides some maps, is kind of what we had done is provide a general overview of neighborhoods. We took a neighborhood by neighborhood approach to looking at, what overall density could be and try to provide some definitions. And the reason we did that is because we're changing the way we do calculations for development in the city. Currently, most of Mount Vernon, aside from the Mount Vernon West TOD area in the senior overlay, develops according to a units per acre basis. The geographic size and the density of Mount Vernon, it's not necessarily appropriate, and we're moving to what's called a Florida area ratio basis or an FAR. What that works with is it takes the square footage and takes a calculation, a ratio that applies it, and you multiply the size of your lot by that number to develop. So it focuses really more on the bulk than the actual units, because when you do a units per acre, are those units studios? Are they 3 bedrooms? Are they 4 bedrooms? This focuses more on the bulk itself and allows for flexibility and creativity. And so we did not want to get locked into those calculations at this point, because there is another step, and I want to emphasize this. There is another step in this process, and is that we will be issuing an RFP in the coming months to redo our zoning ordinance. So we're going to be going through another level of outreach process in the neighborhoods to talk about, all right, we identified your neighborhood as low density. And so we have different concepts and different ideas of what low density is. And so we're going to go in, we're going to talk, and we're going to base the new zoning ordinance based on those conversations that we have with communities. Because I know there was some concern and there was some mischaracterizations that what's being recommended in the comprehensive plan will eliminate single family zoning. That is not true. And I want to emphasize that. We understand it's very general, and we understood how it could have been read that way, but it is not true. It is that there's multiple types of definitions for what low density could be. And so we were just kind of giving, as we look, these are what we are going to be considering for the neighborhood. It does not mean we will be eliminating that. It does not mean we will be upzoning neighborhoods. Over approximately a third of Mount Vernon is zoned for single family homes. And when you include 2-family homes, that's over 45% of Mount Vernon. And so we are not looking to significantly increase density in those neighborhoods. It's just we are trying to strategize, work with homeowners, especially homeowners who may have to, have aging housing stock, and how to work with that, and looking for opportunities to help preserve that the best way we can. So I, again, just want to emphasize, the plan is not looking to eliminate single family zoning. It's not looking to upzone every area. Is aiming to prep us to rewrite the zoning ordinance so we go into block by block what your community is going to look like. So I'd like to turn it over to Patrick Cleary, who led the consulting team for the comprehensive plan.
Good evening, everyone. I have to apologize. We have a PowerPoint that's somewhere floating around in the ether somewhere, so it'll get to you, Nicole, hopefully in a couple of seconds. The plan, and you've heard me talk to you about this before, it really is composed of several basic elements. It included a very thorough inventory of existing conditions. It then included something that we called placemaking, which was sort of the aspirational vision for the community, and that was done by neighborhood. So for all of the 15 neighborhoods in the city, We looked at existing zoning and land use characteristics, the city form elements that make up those neighborhoods. And we've frankly formally defined those neighborhoods. So in the past, people knew a name of a neighborhood, but they never really knew the boundaries of the neighborhood. So that's been sort of settled in the comprehensive plan. So we have a geographic point of reference to what we're talking about for these future recommendations and so forth. And that brought us to, oh, and then there was a robust public participation process, as James indicated. If you remember, this process was broken into 2 phases. So phase 1 focused on the downtown, and we had dozens of public participation, public engagement meetings to deal with the downtown itself, which resulted in the adoption of a vision plan for the downtown. And that was very thorough and very in-depth. But it didn't deal with the rest of the city. So the comprehensive plan that you have before you this evening includes the downtown component, but addresses the city as a whole. So it has those components to it. And the meat and potato component of the comprehensive plan is the piece that we call core concepts. And those are those 16 or so categories where we provide very specific recommendations and the tools or the ideas or the methods on how to achieve those recommendations and those goals. And just to put some frame of reference while I'm waiting for that PowerPoint to show up, the sections are Mount Vernon's role in the region, celebrating and preserving Mount Vernon's historic legacy, neighborhood diversity and inclusion, safe and equitable mobility, the public realm and streetscapes, housing access for all, green space and connections to the natural environment, healthy, safe, and active communities, resiliency, sustainability, economic development, reliable and modern infrastructure, and we got a PowerPoint, and effective government services. So what we could do, I don't know who's controlling the PowerPoint. If we could advance, let's click, keep going, advance again. So those were that sections of the plan that I described before, taking stock, building a vision, place making, core concepts. And the final piece to it is, by the way, is the implementation section of the plan, which identifies every single goal, who's responsible for it, its priority, and its relative costs. So we know exactly how to do the things. Thank you, Marlon, for doing that. Do the things that are set forth in the plan. So if we move to the next slide, that's how it all came together, taking stock, the advisory committee, public engagement, the work of staff and city officials all went into those core concepts. Next slide, please. So the public engagement process, again, the phase 1 process that we talked about for downtown. Phase 2, we addressed public engagement a little bit differently, and this was run by BRS and Creative Urban Alchemy. We tried to target folks that were under-addressed in the past in terms of their engagement. So the first was the youth of the community. As I think some of you know, that process actually hired kids to go out and do the survey work to engage people. And it turned out to be remarkably effective because it's easier to talk to a 13-year-old than it is necessarily to talk to a planning consultant. So we got a lot of great information from that youth engagement. We engaged with seniors. And the seniors certainly were willing to tell us all we needed to hear from them. We engaged 3 different Spanish language groups, or I'm sorry, we engaged the Portuguese group, the Spanish group speakers, and the Haitian speakers in their languages to get effective outreach from those communities. And then we did citywide engagement, a number of those efforts where we reached out to the city as a whole. And then we also engaged the business and industrial sector, which has sort of always been under the radar a little bit in the city. But we were able to get really, really useful, constructive information when we specifically reached out to the industrial sector. Next slide. So those are the core concepts I mentioned just a moment ago. Next slide. So I'll just go through those very quickly and give you a highlight of sort of big picture issues. So Mount Vernon's role in the region, 4 things sort of came out of that, looking at us from a bigger picture. Mount Vernon had this interesting designation as the City of Homes that's been around for 100 years. We've included now what we're calling City of Homes version 2. So we have a remarkable opportunity to diversify the housing stock in the city, not just building tall apartment buildings that support subsidized housing in the downtown, but an emphasis on providing a full range of housing opportunities across the spectrum of building topologies and price points. City of Homes 2.0, there's a lot of that in the comprehensive plan. Emphasizing the city's cultural and creative excellence. So this is a city that has a disproportionate amount of creatives that have come out of the city of Mount Vernon, taking advantage of that and using that to our advantage as a leverage to address things like economic opportunities seems to be an opportunity that we can seize upon. A regional destination to play. So we just completed, as you know, Memorial Stadium. It's a remarkable regional stadium. But when we take a step back and look at across the street in Glover Field and some of the private recreational facilities that exist in that corner of the city, it became apparent that there's an opportunity that's been overlooked to take advantage of that sort of sports opportunity as an economic driver for the community. And of course, the manufacturing center, which we learned a heck of a lot about. I constantly talk about the fact that we have industries that are supported by barge traffic up the Hutchinson River, which who'd have thought of that? So this is a remarkably strong industrial sector that's been under the radar. That is an opportunity for us to leverage it to support the economic growth of the community. So those are the four things that sort of jumped out. Next slide. Taking advantage or celebrating Mount Vernon's historic legacy. So the city has enormous historic resources. I think there are only 5 designated historic resources in the city. There are many more, but it's not just celebrating historic buildings and old stuff. It's about redressing some of the historic legacy that the city's been dealing with for many, many years. And one great example of that is the railroad cut. The railroad cut, which divided the city perceptually, physically, is a historic legacy that needs to be corrected. So we looked at historic legacy in the city a little bit differently. And there's a whole entire chapter that deals with that. Next slide. Neighborhood diversity and inclusion. When we move toward improving the city, it must be done equitably across all neighborhoods. So there's a significant element in the comprehensive plan dealing with just how that can be done appropriately. And there's environmental justice principles that are built into most of the decisions and policies that are in the plan. Next slide. Safe and equitable mobility. One of the fundamental elements that sort of is infused throughout all the transportation and mobility issues is the notion of creating complete streets. So you see it every day when you drive around the city. There are people competing for that space. Pedestrians and cyclists and people on scooters and all sorts of interesting devices. The roads cannot only be devoted to cars, they have to be devoted to all of those modes of transportation. So this notion of complete streets is infused throughout all of the goals and policies that you'll see in the comprehensive plan. And when we reached out to folks, there were several corridors and areas that were targets where folks really identified problem areas. So they've been identified in the plan, and we have solutions on how to deal with that. Next slide. You're right. You're ahead of me. Go ahead. Parking. So the simple answer to parking is it needs to be right-sized as we deal with new land uses, as we deal with future expectations. Right-sizing our parking is something that's important to do. And just an aside, the comprehensive plan is one piece of a process. This is something that will be a continuum of effort that the city needs to engage in for years. The second component of this is the adoption of new zoning. So once we put in place these ideas, it will influence or affect the development of that new zoning that follows up to right-size parking, for example. So the goals and policies are here. The specifics of that will come in the revision of the zoning code that follows along. Next slide. The public realm and streetscapes. So what we have today is a few things that have been done really well in the city, but they've been limited to the 4 corners of their private parcels. The comprehensive plan has worked very hard to expand that investment to the public realm, to the public streets, so that they aren't isolated islands of development, but unified, connected improvements that extend throughout the city. So that deals with our streetscapes in the public realm. Again, we've identified certain corridors where that really needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. And that relates to all sorts of things like placemaking and public art and landscaping and so forth. So you'll find in the comprehensive plan, an awful lot of thought went into those sorts of things. Next slide, please. Housing access for all. One of the most thorough sections of the plan is how we would deal with housing moving forward. And again, as I said earlier, to sort of summarize that, it is expanding the range of housing opportunities in the city throughout different types of housing stock and price points. You know, the biggest issue is both ends of our demographic spectrum. It's young people that can't get into the housing market, and it's old folks that can't remain in the housing market. How do we deal with all of that? The plan has dozens of recommendations on how to deal with that. So I encourage you to take a close look at the housing section because I think you'll see the work that's gone into that piece. Next slide. Green space and connections to the environment. So there are, you know, we think of the parks in the city and we think of Hartley Park, we think of Bush Park. There are dozens of parks. Some of them are small little green spaces at the end of a street. The ability to connect them, to utilize them in an effective way is something that the plan has identified. We're bounded by 2 green linear corridors that are really sort of inaccessible. So the opportunities to connect through to the Hutchinson River Greenway, as well as to the Bronx River Reservation on either boundary of the community is something that the plan has spent some time thinking about as well. Next slide. It's sort of a continuation of that, expanding not just parks and open space, but the public realm should be a green and inviting place. So when you walk down the street, there should be trees and there should be greenery. So it's extending it to the public realm as well. Next slide. Healthy, safe, and active communities. So an important component of the long-term success of the community is making sure the folks that live in the community, work in the community are healthy. So how do we deal with that? In addition to things, like I said before, of facilitating complete streets so folks can walk to the corner deli instead of getting in their car and driving to the deli and get their steps in. There's a lot of recommendations on how to deal with the physical activities within the city, but we also have existing public health challenges to address. We have lots and lots of paved surfaces. Those heat island issues associated with that are things that there are easy solutions to fix many of those problems. So things like that, obviously pollution issues and climate change issues, access to healthy foods. That's a limiting issue. That's something we heard a lot from folks in the community. And healthy housing, making sure the housing that we are building is healthy housing. Next slide. Resiliency and sustainability. I don't need to touch too much on this, but this is sort of the mom and apple pie stuff that we should be doing to accommodate the fact that our climate is changing. And the things we do in this community, the buildings we do build, are built for the long term. They're not disposable. And we're using products that are appropriate. We're addressing flood resilience. Yeah, and a whole host of recommendations regarding sustainability and resiliency. Next slide. Almost done. Economic development. So probably the next most fulsome chapter of the plan is our economic development chapter. And the one thing that I wanted to emphasize with respect to that is what we believe is an opportunity to kickstart economic development in the city. So one of the principles embedded in the plan is to identify champions, those that are willing to invest in the community. One way to facilitate that is through the use of excess city property. So we have about 15 or 16 city-owned parcels that are underutilized that have transferred to the private community to allow them to invest in those properties. offers significant opportunities for us, not only for the development that could occur, but the improvements to the public realm or other public improvements that might be the quid pro quo for the sale of that property to a private development. Those are the things that kickstart investment in the community. If others see that it's been done correctly and it's been done promptly and it's been done responsibly, that will attract others to the community to do the same thing. Next slide. We have partners in the city like the MTA and all of the property that they own along the railroad cut is, again, going back to one of the issues I mentioned earlier, partners to allow us to create, set the stage for development projects that will benefit everybody. Marketing the city, another thing that came up, we have so much to offer, have failed, I think, in celebrating that. You know, we hear so much about what New Rochelle has done. We've done a lot too, and we'll be doing a lot more. The ability to bang our drum is something that we should be seizing upon. So marketing the good stuff in the city is something that's unique and appropriate to us. Growing that manufacturing base and making sure it's stable, something that's really important to us. And again, we have partners. We have partners with Westchester County. We have partners with New York State. All of those folks are eager to work with us to help us achieve the goals that have been established in the comprehensive plan. Next slide. I apologize for moving quickly through this, but there's a lot here. So we're almost done. Reliable and modern infrastructure. So we have some challenges when it comes to infrastructure. So we are under consent decree to continue to fix our sewers. But once that's done, we will have a sewer system that can accommodate and sustain the type of development that or growth the city is desiring. We have a water system that's satisfactory, that works fine. There's excess capacity. So we have actually, when improved, a utility and network infrastructure that can support the goals and the visions that have been established in the comprehensive plan. You know, a lot of this deals with some of the technical issues with this, so we can go to the next slide. Last piece of this was effective government service. So we thought it was our obligation to include a chapter that talks about these are best practices that a government can choose to use and how a city is run, managed, and governed. So that's the effective government service chapter. And I think that's our last slide with what's in those. One more click. So that's it. So those were those core concepts sections, a very brief synapse of sort of the high level issues that exist in each of those. There's a lot more than what I described this evening. And again, what we're here for tonight is to hear comments on this plan. It's been 2 years in the cooking. A lot of folks have had their fingers in the pie, but nothing's ever perfect until it's perfect, right? So the objective is to hear from folks and to improve the plan where we can. And that's what I've got to say for you this evening, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, so just to level set expectations before we get into the speakers, I want to thank again the planning department and the consultants and also the comp plan committee and the public for everyone's efforts in the draft. I hope everyone has had a chance to review it. A lot of work went into this and it reflects input from the community. So tonight we are here to listen to comments and questions from the public. It's not a Q&A. Your comments will be considered as we advance the comp plan and the SEQRA processes. We do have another hearing next Tuesday, October 14th at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers. If you are unable to attend and you have additional comments, you could submit comments in writing to the city clerk at cityclerk@cmvny.com. And for the speakers we have today, normally there's a 4-minute timeline, but because it's a comp plan, there's going to be a 5-minute limit tonight. So if you have comments for and against, if the majority of your comments are for, please feel free to come up when I ask for speakers for the comp plan. If the majority of them are against, please feel free to come up when I say speakers against the comp plan. If they're 50-50, you can make a decision, okay? So I'm going to get started with speakers. Before I do, council members, are we all set? Any questions, concerns, anything? Awesome. So with regard to the comprehensive plan, are there any speakers in-house or online that would like to speak for the comp plan? And you don't have to raise your hand. You can just come up to the mic if you would like to speak. Anyone online? All right, second time around, are there any was that a speaker jumping off the computer? Any speakers in city council chambers who would like to speak for the comp plan? Any speakers online who would like to speak for the comp plan? All right, and third time, are there any speakers in-house, in city council chambers or online who would like to speak for the comp plan? All right, and speakers against the comp plan, please feel free to line up. Are there any speakers online? And as you come up, just state your name and your address for the record.
Good evening. 45 Parkway West, Mount Vernon, New York. My name is Vince Ferrandino. I'm a professional planner with an active consulting practice in the tri-state area, a former commissioner of planning and development for the city of Mount Vernon, and current Mount Vernon resident. And I might add that I have authored many plans in many diverse communities. I have reviewed the draft plan, including the Phase 1 Downtown Vision Report, as well as the long-form EAF Parts 1 and 2, and the resolution by this city council declaring itself lead agency under seeker and setting the public hearings for October 8th and 14th, 2025. I offer the following preliminary comments. Following completion of the second public hearing, I may opt to add to these comments. Please accept the below referenced testimony for placement into the public record this evening. Almost 3 years of stops and starts in preparing the draft plan before you tonight, the Planning Commissioner on September 24th, 2025, submitted a 475-page document replete with 36 goals and 419 objectives, recommendations for several zone changes and other land use procedures and capital improvements to the council for action. On that date, with zero discussion, this council scheduled 2 public hearings. The first one 2 weeks later on October 8th, tonight, and the second one 6 days later on October 14th, the day after Columbus Day, etc. I highly doubt that any of the council people read the draft before accepting the document as complete and scheduling these hearings. And just as likely, members of the public will not have sufficient time to review, digest, and comment upon it. As of October 5th, 2025, just 4 days before tonight's hearing, 0 documents were placed on the City Council website, also known as Granicus Legistar, for the public to review. After my personal prodding, only some of the documents appeared online yesterday, October 7th, 2025, 1 day ago. While the planning staff touts the public input process they undertook over several months in producing this plan, the extremely tight time frame arbitrarily established by this city council to adopt it, and the absence of complete documents to review online in a timely manner seriously compromises that public participation process. Further, the environmental review process is also being rushed, with the goal of bypassing a full vetting of the impacts of this draft plan via a full generic environmental impact statement. Under New York State environmental law, the adoption of a comprehensive plan is something known as a Type 1 action, which is presumed, quote, to have a significant adverse impact on the environment, unquote. But despite stating in the city council resolution that the proposed action is a type 1 action, the scant long form parts 1 and 2 prepared by this planning department belies that with incredulous responses of no impact throughout. That's absurd. A comprehensive plan sets the table for the future, usually over a 10-year time frame. This one proposes radical zone changes in a number of city neighborhoods, which could negatively impact community character and increase our population by 10 to 15%, adversely impacting our already aging and fragile infrastructure. We have not had a comprehensive update since 1968, as my colleague, Mr. Cleary, points out. This plan, whatever its pluses or minuses, as drafted, deserves to be reviewed and vetted very carefully in accordance with the law. Arbitrarily rushing to approve it before year's end will not accomplish that goal. As a matter of fact, the public hearings should be kept open until such time as the Complan consulting team and planning department have had a chance to review all public comments and respond to them individually,
Mr.
as well
Clary.
as in a revised draft comprehensive plan for
Mr.
posting
Clary.
and further comment by the public. This may
You can
take several
finish,
weeks
conclude
or
your
months.
statements if you would like to submit your
I'm
statement.
just
in
wrapping up.
writing.
Let me finish my points. I ask you to rethink this process and the environmental consequences of your actions, as a lawsuit will absolutely be in the offing if you do not. I will submit detailed technical
Thank you, Mr.
comments
Clary.
as it, would you let me finish?
Mr.
Madam
Clary, your
Chair?
time
I have
has
no
expired.
today.
You can submit your
I
comments
will
if you would
finish
like
my
to. No,
sentence
you
if
will
you
not.
don't mind. I will
can move-
submit
Mr.
technical
Clary, you
comments
can
as an
sit
expert
down so that we can have the next speaker up.
Fast track process.
Mr.
and
Clary,
public comment
you can
period.
sit down
Example,
so that we can
I-
have the next speaker.
It's
Thank you
disgrace.
very much.
You are a disgrace.
I understand you. Next speaker against the comp plan?
Good evening. I just want to be clear, I'm not here to speak against
Go for it.
necessarily or for. I just have some comments that I hope will ultimately improve the end product. So good evening, City Council. Michael Justino. I'm here as the ZBA Chair, the FNA Fleetwood Neighborhood Association President, and a member of the Advisory Committee. Dear members of the City Council, the statement is submitted to express significant concerns regarding the current comprehensive draft plan and its associated procedures. Several substantive and procedural issues require attention and correction prior to consideration of the plan adoption. Number one, SECRA clarification and GEIS requirements. As this action constitutes a type 1 action under SECRA, a general environmental impact statement is absolutely required prior to adoption. Proceeding without a completed GEIS would be improper and may expose the city to legal challenges. The GEIS must address cumulative impacts, mitigation strategies, and alternatives in sufficient detail to inform decision-making. Number two, deficiencies in a long-form environmental assessment form. This current long-form EAF is deficient with numerous sections left blank and unsigned. This undermines the transparency and completeness of the environmental review process and must be rectified prior to any further consideration of plan adoption. Number three, zoning completion prior to adoption. The zoning revisions must be completed and synchronized with the comprehensive plan before final adoption. Without finalized zoning, the plan's implementation framework remains uncertain, potentially creating confusion and inconsistency between policy and regulatory intent. Four, single-family zone concerns. The proposal plan raises serious concerns about the preservation and integrity of single-family zoning districts. These areas have long been a defining feature of Mount Vernon's residential character and stability. Any changes to density and or permitted use within these districts could should be carefully studied for their long-term impacts on neighborhood cohesion, infrastructure capacity, and property values. 5, high-rise density between Gramerton Avenue and Westchester Avenue. The proposed high-rise density designations within the corridor between Gramerton Avenue east to Westchester Avenue appear excessive and inconsistent with the surrounding neighborhood context. The scale, height, and intensity proposed would significantly alter the built environment and may create adverse impacts on traffic, parking, and overall livability. A more balanced, context-sensitive approach to heightened density is warranted. Lack of retail plan for the Fleetwood Business District. The Fleetwood Business District lacks a coherent retail and economic development plan in the draft. The Fleetwood Business District is currently suffering from vacant storefronts and lack of pedestrian traffic after 6 p.m. This omission risks undermining the district's commercial viability and its role as a neighborhood economic anchor. A targeted retail strategy emphasizing pedestrian activity, small business retention, and mixed-use synergy is essential before adoption of the broader plan. 7, insufficient use of the advisory committee. The Comp Plan Advisory Committee has not been adequately utilized during the Phase 2 review process. There were only 2 meetings called. The first only to explain the plan change consultants and other miscellaneous procedures with no input from the members. The second meeting was a slide presentation and broad overview of a work in progress and scant detail and little feedback from members. During Phase 1, most advisory committee members recommended much lower height and density levels than those ultimately proposed. The deviation from advisory input raises concerns about the effectiveness of the public participation process and the value placed on community-based recommendations. Number 8, public hearing and review process. It is imperative that the public hearing remain open until all public and agency comments have been thoroughly reviewed by both the planning department and the consulting team. The public must have the opportunity to review consultant responses to public communications and questions, then present the revised plan to the advisory commission and recirculate for public review. Next, address remaining concerns and then participate in a transparent discussion regarding the process for public input evaluation, consolidation, and plan revision leading to final review. 2 more things. The step is critical in maintaining public trust, ensuring compliance of SECRA, and producing a compliant plan that reflects the collective vision of the community. Conclusion, given the concepts outlined above, we strongly recommend that the City Council refrain from adopting a comprehensive plan until the long-form EAF is fully and accurately completed, the GEIS is completed and accepted, zoning updates are finalized, the Public and Advisory
Thank you, Mr.
Committee
Justina.
have a full understanding and review of the plan.
If you would like to submit
Thank
your
you very
comments,
much.
you
I'm
can
going
leave
to
them up
submit
there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker against the comp plan?
I'm not speaking against the comp plan. I'm here to make a public comment in reaction to reading the comp plan. My name is Wendy Boyle-Adipo. I was a member of the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee, and I serve on the ZBA. I'm also on the board of the Westchester Historical Society. My comments concern the diversity of housing options, the elimination of single-family zones, which is referenced repeatedly throughout this 475 pages, inconsistencies in neighborhood designations, density parameters, and environmental impact. This plan advocates for diverse housing options, yet throughout its 475 pages, it repeatedly calls for eliminating single-family only zones and allowing in a widespread manner duplexes and triplexes by right in all single-family zones. This is found in sections 3.7, 318, 411, 545, 570, and even more. My question is, are single-family zones not among the diverse housing options that should be an enduring feature of a future Mount Vernon? As a member of the advisory committee, I attended numerous community workshops over the past 3 years. Not once did I hear a resident say, Gee, I would like my neighbor to add an attic or a basement apartment and worsen the parking situation and the noise pollution in my neighborhood. The plan also omits key takeaways from neighborhood association engagement conversations held from September 23rd, September 2023 to May 2024, which was part of Phase 2, where quality of life issues were a major concern. The idea of eliminating single-family zoning and allowing in a widespread manner duplexes, triplexes, and ADUs was introduced late in the game in June 2025 during a planning department and Cleary Consulting meeting with the advisory committee to review an outline of the draft plan, which are many of the bullet points that were just presented. It was then recirculated in July at public workshops. In the final Zoom session, homeowners voiced strong opposition and asked if single-family zoning would be eliminated citywide, as the elimination by right language suggests. The planning department, Commissioner Rouse, said no, but still, all I can go by is what I see in the 475 pages where it is repeatedly called for. Additionally, according to Implementation Plan Section 6, there are only 2.5 neighborhoods that would remain single-family zones: Auburn and Pasadena and some parts of Fleetwood. This contradicts the placemaking section's neighborhood analysis, which recommends no land use changes for Huntswood, Chester Hill Park, Chester Heights, and Oakwood Heights. Yet only Auburn and Pasadena and Fleetwood are listed as single-family zones in the implementation section. Regarding density and environmental impact, between the downtown vision plan and the appropriate recommendations in those plans for transit-oriented development, along with corridor mixed use in high and medium density areas, how much more density can Mount Vernon absorb if single-family zones are eliminated and there's a widespread introduction of duplexes and triplexes into them? The city council must include an environmental impact and density analysis so residents can understand beyond the abstract how many people will be living here and what services will be needed. I urge you to reject the elimination of single-family zoning. This plan also has descriptions of neighborhoods that are overly broad, erasing nuance. I guess Kingsbridge Gardens is somewhere in Parkside, and Langdon Terrace is somewhere in Vernon Heights, but the unique characteristics inside neighborhoods are not recognized, and placemaking opportunities will be lost. Mount Vernon is a place where one block in a neighborhood can be a completely different experience than on another block. This is very true of Vernon Heights, where some blocks are strictly single family and others are multifamily. In the case of my own neighborhood, Oakwood Heights, the plan's descriptions and boundaries on page 244 are incorrect. Our association's map shows Oakwood Heights includes approximately 250 homes on 13 streets. It does not include Trapphagen School, the Park Lane, Esplanade Co-ops, which are in a completely different zip code and are not part of Oakwood Heights. I'm going to give
Please wrap up.
Mr. Cleary, you understand?
Please.
Let's leave it here.
Thank you.
In sum, let us move forward with a plan that reflects both the diversity of housing
Please wrap up
options
comment.
and the diversity of lived experiences. Let us plan for growth, yes, but with clarity, transparency, and respect for the people who already call Mount Vernon home and who have invested heavily in it.
Thank you.
I'm David Reich, lifelong resident of Mount Vernon, born here. I'm still here. First of all, I want to say you should have let Mr. Ferrandino finish his remarks. I know we have a 5-minute limit, but this is very important. He has comments that should be heard, and it was really a bad look to cut him off and speak over him. Please don't do that anymore. Bad look, not good. I have quite a few concerns with the comprehensive plan, strictly from a layman's point of view. I'm not a city planner, but I do have common sense. In my marketing communications business over the years, I have been involved in helping cities with development. In fact, I was part of the team that helped put forth the Business Improvement District for downtown White Plains. I have to say, was glad to hear from Commissioner Rouse that there is going to be another step here regarding zoning. But I still am concerned, and I think that we need to have specifics in this plan, the way it stands now, or in what you guys will eventually be adopting. So my first concern is closer to home, where I live, Fleetwood, Hunts Woods neighborhoods, but it's still, I think my concerns would apply to all of the single-family neighborhoods throughout the city. Although the plan calls for no zoning change for current single-family residential, I think we need wording that is very specific that prohibits workarounds such as ADUs, splitting parcels, converting single-family homes into duplex and triplexes. And I would like to see that in the plan, not stage 2, but in what you guys adopt from here on. I brought up this to the mayor, and she said to me in writing that she opposes ADUs, that she's very strongly against ADUs. So I hope that we'll hold her to that, and that you also will listen to her. If we don't have specific wording regarding the zoning on single-family neighborhoods, we risk losing value of our homes, which for most of us is our biggest investment and our biggest asset. Still close to home, at least for me, the Fleetwood Business District. And Mr. Justino did mention that a little. It's traditionally had a small town feel, a neighborhood that I think must be preserved. And I'm alarmed that the current plan seems to allow changes to the blocks from Westchester Avenue to Gramerton in the shopping district in Fleetwood that would allow high-rise buildings. And I think that would completely change the character of the neighborhood. It would exacerbate the parking situation, which is really bad, and make traffic just horrendous. That'll hurt the retailers who are currently there, and it'll discourage other retailers from thinking of coming into Mount Vernon or coming into Fleetwood. The plan also calls for high-rise residential along transit corridors by rail stations downtown and at Mount Vernon West. In theory, it sounds good, but the city cannot sustain 18 and 21-story residential buildings. Whatever building does take place, it really should be market rate. Mount Vernon has more than its share of low-income and affordable housing, and we should now say enough. Let other communities in Westchester do their fair share. Too much of the burden has been placed on Mount Vernon, and the taxpayers end up shouldering that burden. Finally, no more pilots for residential. If developers want to build in our city, let them pay their fair share of taxes. Pilots instead should be used to lure commercial and targeted retail development to provide more jobs for our residents. Also, I don't think the plan had any specifics as to how we'll try to attract business into our city. It's nice to say it, but I think we need to see more details on that. I'd like to see that in the plan, the first part of the plan that you all will be approving at some point, hopefully not tonight. So the bottom line is this proposed plan, I think, is a long way from adoption by the council. All aspects of the proposals need to be examined with generic impact reviews so we know what we're getting ourselves into. Please do the right thing. Thanks.
Any other speakers against or general comments about the comp plan in-house?
Mary Kingsley, 99 Beekman. and also on the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee. I have not been to every meeting, but I have been to quite a number of them. And I think that there are some community input that has been consistent throughout the meetings. One is parking. I saw a line in the slides, existing off-street parking exceeds those of other Westchester cities. But as someone who lives here and tries to park, I can't. There are oftentimes I don't go places because of the parking. I think parking has to really be addressed, and I'm not sure if it was ever upped. I know it used to be 0.76. Is that correct, per unit? I think that's inadequate. I think it should be 1 per unit for all development, and I don't think there should be any variance from that. This is Westchester. Everybody drives. We've got statistics recently that seniors are moving here more than ever. Seniors drive. We need our cars. The other thing is that I wanted to say, as a realtor of many years, we are the last good buy in Westchester. People are going to buy here. People are going to develop here. I don't think we need to sell ourselves short. I think we need to know our value and hold it. We do not need to accommodate developers in order to invite developers in. They will come. I think that throughout the community meetings I went to, and I have to say, I think you guys did a great job in trying to solicit community input, lots of meetings, lots of effort. People do not want to see these super high rise buildings. Conversely, I completely support the transit-oriented development idea. I think that's great for high rise around the transit centers, but in the other neighborhoods, not so much. I'm going to vary with some of the people that are anti-single family changes. I do think ADUs are the compassionate and right thing to do, but I think that they should not be a blanket yes. I think that they should be a case-by-case consideration, and it should have restrictions for who is, so if you have a child or a parent that you need to provide an ADU for, I think that should be okay. Do you want to make a million little cottages on a lovely property? No. So I think there are ways to look at ADU. I think we need to consider what people want in our community, the flavor of the community. Do we want to be a big city high rise, or do we want to maintain our neighborhood feel, our community feel? This feels like a small town to me. I mean, I know everybody and I like it like that. I don't want to live in Manhattan. I would if I wanted to, where everybody is anonymous. So I think the concept of what people want to see in their community should take precedence over what developers need to come in, because I think developers will come in regardless. I think that's it. Thanks.
Any additional speakers?
Good evening, Madam President and members of the council. My name is Michael Templeton, 305 Central Parkway. I stand here today in opposition to the plan in respect to how it treats single-family residential zones. Now, I think there's some confusion about this. I appreciate that the planning commissioner speaks to this, and I've heard him say the same thing on several occasions, that this plan does not eliminate single-family zones. Well, in the strictest sense, that's true. But what does it do? The current single-family zoning is set forth in R17, R1 3.6, and R1 4.5. There's 3 single-family residential zones under the current zoning code. Now, what do those 3 districts, those 3 zones for single-family homes provide in terms of permitted principal uses? A, 1, family dwellings. B, public schools. C, municipal uses of the city. And D, short-term rentals. They do not allow, let me underscore not, multifamily homes. They do not allow duplexes. They do not allow triplexes. What this plan proposes to do is eliminate those zones. It purports to gut those zones changed the principal permitted use to include not only single-family homes, but in addition, two-family homes and three-family homes. That's what the plan says. Now, the commissioner can speak to, it doesn't eliminate single-family homes. Well, in the broad sense, that's true. But what it does, it eliminates single-family home-only districts. And the effect of that is very, very significant, especially to long-term residents who've been in these single-family zones, for decades, invested in the community, invested in their homes. What it does, and this is how this plays out in other communities. I'll just give you an example. Let's take that fixer-upper down the block, right? What happens is that fixer-upper down the block in these existing single-family zones is usually a type of home that a family starting out is going to purchase, right? They're going to come in, they're going to invest in it, they're going to upgrade the kitchen or the bathrooms or whatever over time as they build their life in that home, in that community. Invest in it. But what happens with this new zoning structure that allows two-family, three-family, triplexes, duplexes? What happens is that single family just starting out in their home acquisition process, they have to compete with developers, with investors, most all of whom are not Mount Vernon residents, come in and they can outbid them, right? They have tax breaks, capital investments, they have ability to pay in cash. So this single family home, this family starting out is just out of the game. And who is in the game? Who does this open the door to big enough to drive a Mack truck through? It opens the door to out-of-city investors and developers to come into our neighborhoods. I'm talking about Huntswoods. I'm talking about Pasadena. I'm talking about similar neighborhoods, residential neighborhoods in this community, come in and essentially tear down, buy a home next to my home or some other resident's home, tear it down and build in its place a duplex or a triplex and rent it out. Now, what's the net effect of that? What is the consequence of that over time? Well, there's the infrastructure consequences, which are very significant, right? There's the public school burden, right? There's the noise issues, there's the parking issues, there's the congestion issues. The domino fall keeps going on and on and on. And there's not one single reference to any study in this report at all. It's purely conclusory as to this will encourage or promote more housing. Well, yeah, there may be some more dwelling units. Will they be less expensive? What's the impact on the current neighborhood? Who's going to pay for this infrastructure required upgrade? None of that is spoken to. So I oppose this for that reason. I think we need a lot more clarity, we need a lot more studies, as Mr. Justino spoke to get anywhere near close to talking about this plan in an intelligent manner. Thank you.
Any additional speakers in house? All right, any speakers online? Any speakers online? Any speakers online? All right, Clerk Bonilla, I know we have some written correspondence. Can you get into the written correspondence, please?
Okay, we have a written correspondent from Mayor Sean Patterson Howard. Members of the City Council, I apologize for my absence tonight, but it is important to put on paper my initial thoughts about this draft comprehensive plan. I will continue to expand my comments over the next 2 weeks. First, I want to extend my sincere gratitude to the City Council, the Department of Planning and Community Development, our consultants, advisory board members, and the many community stakeholders who contributed to the development of the Envision Mount Vernon Draft Comprehensive Plan. This plan represents a historic milestone, the first comprehensive land use plan undertaken in the city of Mount Vernon in over 55 years. The process to reach this point has been deeply collaborative and inclusive. Over 30 community engagement sessions, including workshops, educational forums, neighborhood meetings, and discussions held in churches and community centers have shaped this document. This report is in collaboration of all of Mount Vernon throughout the past few years. While I support the vision and goal of this draft plan, I want to highlight one area of particular importance, the preservation of our single-family neighborhoods. As we look towards future growth, we must ensure that neighborhood preservation is balanced with smart, intentional development. Growth must be community-driven, not dictated by outside investors. Our residents must remain at the center of shaping Mount Vernon's future. Housing is one of the most critical elements of our city's future. As mayor, I strongly support the development of both workforce and market rate housing. I am not in favor of low-income housing, as Mount Vernon has paid its share of investments in that area. To that end, we must ensure that we build housing that allows our residents to remain in our community as they build wealth, raise families, and retire. A vibrant housing mix is an essential one that includes single-family homes, multifamily buildings, townhomes, condominiums, co-ops, and market rate housing for seniors. Home ownership opportunities must be woven into our growth strategy so that residents of all income levels have a pathway to stability and equity. It is also important that we consider limited allowances for accessory dwelling units, or ADUs. We do so with great care and intention. ADU should be permitted only on owner-occupied properties, not for speculative investments or absentee ownership. We must prevent corporate entities and fully managed LLCs from exploiting these opportunities at the expense of our neighborhoods and residents. The draft comprehensive plan goes far beyond housing. It encompasses strategy for economic development, sustainability, transportation, expansion of our tax base, cultural arts, equity, and smart growth. It strikes a thoughtful balance between preserving the character of our neighborhoods and seizing new opportunities for responsibility development that benefits our entire community. I support increasing density in a strategic, data-informed manner, particularly along high-traffic corridors, retail areas, and transit-oriented zones. Such development will bring diversity of income, attract neighborhoods serving retail, and create opportunities for dining, recreation, cultural arts, and entertainment. These are the investments that make Mount Vernon not just a place to live, but a destination to experience. Mount Vernon is not a poor community. Our challenge is not the lack of people or potential, but the lack of diversity in our retail, commercial, and industrial base. By implementing the Envision Mount Vernon plan with focus and discipline, we can create the ecosystem needed to keep residents spending local, attract new investment, and build the economic richness our city deserves. Thank you once again for your tireless work, partnership, and dedication to shaping the Mount Vernon of tomorrow. Together, we are ensuring that our city's growth is smart, equitable, and rooted in the strength of our community. In service, Sean Patterson Howard, Mayor, City of Mount Vernon, New York. With the council's permission, I would like to have the deputy read some. It's a lot.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, we have written correspondence from Adrian Saunders. My name is Adrian Saunders, and I am a taxpayer of the city of Mount Vernon. This so-called comprehensive plan is not at all comprehensive. In fact, it is reckless as it fails to address two problems that define Mount Vernon's decline. One, an old, crumbling infrastructure can't handle what we already have, flooding every time it rains, broken, collapsing storm and sewage drainage systems, raw sewage in basements, roads that test even the best suspension systems, and parking shortages everywhere. Two, a city dependent on property taxes for half its budget, with ballooning expenses and shrinking alternative revenue streams. And those property taxes fall squarely on single-family homeowners who are already stretched to the breaking point. This plan fixes neither problem. It actually makes both worse. From what I understand, the city seeks to move this plan forward without preparing a generic environmental impact statement. You are able to get away with this because DEIS is not technically required under state law. But just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Under SECRA, adopting a comprehensive plan is a type 1 action, meaning it is presumed to have significant environmental impacts. But here, council doesn't have to presume. You already know the problems faced by this community. And given the reality of, guys, it's GIS, is absolutely necessary. You should all have already issued a positive declaration and directed the preparation of a GIS to assess cumulative impacts on flooding, drainage, parking, housing mix, and neighborhood character. A DEIS isn't bureaucratic busy work. It's protection. It's how you make sure the public, planners, and the courts can see the truth before the damage is done. Rushing to adopt this plan without that review in a city whose infrastructure is already failing isn't just bad policy. It's bordering on criminal negligence. It is indefensible. That is especially so here, where the required SECRA paperwork isn't even complete or signed. Perhaps the most dangerous part of this plan is the backdoor attempt to erase single-family zoning, legalizing duplexes, triplexes, and ADUs in the very neighborhoods that have kept the city financially afloat. These neighborhoods aren't just zoning categories, they're a lifeline. They provide the bulk of their per capita tax base. They absorb stormwater. They contain significant green space, and just as important, they are home to people who have stayed here in spite of everything. These are residents who pay the high tax rate in Westchester County, who put up with failing schools, collapsing roads, and non-existent city services, but remain because they love the homes they have built, their neighborhoods, and their neighbors. What happens when you drive those people away? When you destroy the very thing, the quiet, single-family character that makes staying here worthwhile. You lose the city's stable core, you hollow out the tax base, you create a transient city of absentee landlords and renters with no stake in its future. You abort the opportunity for families to create generational wealth. You call that revitalization, I call it collapse. If this city council issues a negative declaration under SECRA, it will be one of the most irresponsible and indefensible acts of this administration. A negative declaration means the council is saying that this plan will have no significant environmental impact. I hope that you are ready to own that pronouncement because in Vernon, that's absurd on its face. We have flooding, raw sewage, collapsing roads, no parking. I could go on, and you all are prepared to claim that massive zoning changes and new development won't make that worse. Come on. This is exactly the kind of project SECRA was designed for, and the only responsible path is to issue a positive declaration and conduct a GIS. Anything less is a cover-up. And if the council pushes this through anyway, it will show that this wasn't about good planning or public welfare. It was about political expediency, and it will be challenged in court. Under New York law, before issuing a negative declaration, the lead agency must identify environmental concerns and take a hard look at them and provide a reason, elaboration for its determination. There is no evidence that has happened here. Do your jobs, follow the law, protect the city before it's too late. Thank you.
Next is from Donna Wemple. Dear members of the Mount Vernon City Council, my name is Donna Wemple, and I write to you not only as a 26-year resident of Mount Vernon, but as a homeowner and taxpayer. I'm writing to express my strong opposition to the zoning changes proposed in the so-called quote-unquote comprehensive plan, particularly the elimination of single-family zoning and the blanket legalization of duplexes, triplexes, and accessory dwelling units, ADUs, in residential neighborhoods. These changes pose a direct threat to the very communities that have sustained Mount Vernon through years of hardship. Our single-family neighborhoods are stable, tax contributing, and deeply rooted in communities. They provide green space, absorb stormwater, and most importantly, support the city's per capita tax base. Instead of being protected or supported, these neighborhoods are being targeted for intensified density with no clear plan to expand infrastructure, address traffic and parking, or preserve community character. Simply, it is destabilizing policy. It undermines property values, reduces quality of life, and drives away exactly the kind of families and homeowners Mount Vernon needs to retain. Legalizing multi-unit homes throughout established single-family zones, turning these neighborhoods into high turnover, investor-owned rental corridors. It encourages speculative development, absentee landlords, and a transient population less connected to the long-term well-being of our city. If the housing expansion is a goal, do it responsibly by supporting projects near transit hubs and in underutilized commercial corridors. But this plan does not reflect responsible growth. It reflects a rushed top-down approach that sacrifices community stability for density targets. I urge you to reject the proposed elimination of single-family zoning. Sincerely, Donna Wimple. Next, we have from Mrs. Kenya Miller of Intellectus Preparatory Charter School. Greetings. Intellectus Preparatory Charter School has not been included in the comprehensive city plan at all. We currently serve 150 students across grades 6 through 10. We will be adding 11th and 12th grade one at a time over the next 2 years until we are a full 6 through 12 campus. Intellectus Prep focuses on accelerated academics and high school completion, as well as early college. I respectfully request that Intellectus Preparatory Charter School is appropriately included in this plan. Even private schools are listed, so I'm assuming that this is an oversight, not a slight. Intellectus Prep has consistently served the community, showed up at community events, and pays, and even serves as a training site for Mount Vernon Police Department. Furthermore, the way the education section is written refers to change, quote unquote, proposed or in the future. At this time, the proposed change have been enacted, so it should be adjusted to reflect what currently is. Lastly, the education section only includes enrollment data. However, a strong emphasis should be placed on the actual performance of the district. These numbers can be obtained from data.nysc.gov. This is the data that people are using to determine whether or not to move to Mount Vernon. I am not able to make the meeting tonight or next due to prior obligations, but I'm happy to be of service in any way possible. This is from Ms. Kenya Miller, founder, CEO, and executive director of Intellectus Preparatory Charter School. I'm going to read the next one and then you take over. This one is long. Dear Mount Vernon City Board, my name is Sarah Abden. I live in Mount Vernon for 10 years. I'm 35, a mother of 3 girls, ages 4, 3, and 6 months, and a real estate program manager. So yes, I think about how businesses and how their real estate portfolio function or don't for a living. I love this city. My 2 little girls are students at Friendship for Tots. They love it. And my dream is to keep my girls in the Mount Vernon Public Schools all the way through high school without constantly worried if I'm gambling with their education. I want to buy a home here, raise kids here, and believe in the future here. But right now, Mount Vernon feels like a city that's lost its confidence. We have everything a great city needs: 3 train stations, 30-minute access to Manhattan, incredible diversity, and a tight-knit community when it's allowed to shine. We could be the Long Island city of Westchester. Think Forest Hills Energy with Pelham-level schools and New Rochelle pride. But we've got to stop tripping over ourselves and start managing our potential. So here's my real talk from someone who loves Mount Vernon enough to stay and who's stubborn enough to believe we could do better. 1, the North-South divide is embarrassingly real. Mount Vernon is visibly divided. You don't need a map to find it. Just cross the Metro North line. On one side, you've got tree-lined streets, historic homes, and people walking dogs under working streetlights. Across the tracks, and it's a different city. Older buildings, cracked sidewalks, empty storefronts, and gray, tired energy that says, quote, "The city stopped caring about us," end quote. It is not dirt. Our streets are actually pretty clean. It's neglect. It's a lack of attention, investment, and leadership. It's the, quote, other side of 8 Mile, end quote, but ours is just half mile apart. That should embarrass us. And it's not just visual, it's racial, economic, and structural. City services, schools, investment, they all look different depending on which side of the line you're on. That divide isn't accidental. It's the result of years of decisions, and we need to start undoing it, not managing around it. Nowhere in the divide clearer than on 4th Avenue, our so-called quote-unquote Main Street. Family-run businesses there, and I could tell you firsthand, it's in trouble. Homelessness, open drug use, shoplifting, abandoned storefronts. The street has become a place people avoid, not visit. We lost our Rite Aid across the Metro North Station because of repeated theft and safety issues. Think about that. A national retailer on a prime corner across from a commuter hub gave up. That's a failure of safety, not business. But it doesn't have to stay that way. 4th Avenue could be our comeback story. across from a major train station. It's perfectly positioned to become a mixed-use active corridor, our version of Steinway Street or even downtown New Rochelle. We just need to make it safe, bright, and viable. What I'm asking for, light it up, reliable street lights and active cameras so people feel safe after 7 p.m., feet on the street, consistent foot patrols, not just drive-by, or changes behavior, fix the zoning. Right now, Fourth Avenue is strangled by commercial-only zoning. Let building owners create apartments above storefronts. Residents mean lights on at night, safer streets and buildings that get real investment. When owners can make income upstairs, they'll modernize downstairs. Don't tax the survivor. The small businesses that are still here are heroes. Don't burden them with improvement fees. Help them rebrand a corridor, new signage, fresh storefronts, and art that celebrates Mount Vernon's culture. Bring pride back to the South Side. We can make Fourth Avenue the heart of the city again, but we need to stop treating it like it's something we hold our breath around. Homelessness and addiction, let's talk about the issues we all see to hate to mention. Too many people are suffering in the open. We can walk from the station to Fourth Avenue and see people sleeping in doorways, nodding off on benches, yelling at ghosts. It's heartbreaking, and it's also unsafe. Businesses can't operate like this, and families can't walk their kids around this. This is not just a policing issue, it is a systems issue. These are people with trauma, addiction, mental illness, and all three, and right now we are addressing it with the same approach we used to fill potholes, patch, and move on. We need compassion boundaries, partner with regional programs. We're not alone. Westchester County and New Rochelle have programs that connect unhoused residents to treatment, housing, and case management. Use them. Convert vacant city properties into transitional housing with wraparound services, counseling, job readiness, addiction treatment, not shelter, structured programs with exit plans. Establish crisis response team. We need trained professionals, not police, handling mental health crises when possible. It's more humane and more effective. Clean and reclaim public spaces. Families and businesses have a right to safety. Compassion without rules is chaos, and right now we are living proof. We can care deeply without letting the city unravel. A safe city is a compassionate city. Number 3, schools. Fewer buildings, better results, and don't leave closed sites to rot. I've got 3 little girls and I want to keep them in the district through high school. Help me say yes to that. We have too many schools for too few students, not enough good results when it counts. I have consolidation and closures are already on the table. Good. My question is, what's the plan for these closed sites? Please don't let them sit vacant and drag neighborhoods down. What I'm asking for, yes, you are closing and consolidating underused schools, but what's the plan for reuse? Partner with reputable developers to convert closed sites to mixed income affordable housing or community hubs. Surcharge Mount Vernon High School, modern labs, clean bathrooms, safe halls, rigorous academics, and college CTE pathways. Publish a 12-month turnaround plan with monthly public metrics. Slim the admin, fund the classrooms. If dollars aren't reaching teachers and facilities, you're doing it wrong. Full transparency. Post contracts, vendors, and spend in the public dashboard.
Not. Ma'am, there's no screaming out there. So the rules of order are written comments are read into record in their completion. Continue, Clerk Bonilla.
Thank you. My family and a lot of families like mine are deciding whether to stay based on this. Number 4, infrastructure, the pipes, the pavement, the priorities. This one's not glamorous, but it's urgent. Mount Vernon sewer system is over 100 years old. The city reports we lose 23.6% of our water before it even reaches the homes. That is not a small leak. That's millions of dollars literally vanishing underground, and the system is failing. Every time it rains hard, basements flood and residents cross their fingers that toilets will flush. This is basic quality of life issue. We can't keep patching. We need to rebuild smartly, fund it, and tightly manage. How to fund it without raising taxes, cut redundancy. We do street sweeping twice a week. That's a rich city habit. Cut to once and put the savings into pipes. Win grants. NYS Environmental Facilities Corp. exists for this with the huge city hall building. Who even works there? Hire a full-time grant writing. That role should pay for itself with all the state and federal money on the table. Target infrastructure bond with independent oversight and public progress tracker. Fix it right once. When the street opens for repaving, require a full line replacement before closure. No more patchwork boomerangs. Fix the bones before we add the muscle. Number 5, homeownership. Let working families plant roots. This is personal. I do spreadsheets for a living, so trust me, I run the mortgage calculator 12 ways. With prices over 600K, our property taxes, buying in the city I've lived in for a decade and my husband grew up in, still feels like trying to board a train that never stops. And I'm a full-time professional with 2 incomes in the household. If I can't make it pencil, what chance does a single parent or a first-gen buyer have? Homeownership is what turns, quote, I live here into I'm invested here. Owners paint, plant, join PTAs, and fight for better blocks. Renters can be great neighbors too, but ownership stabilize the city. Create a real on-ramp. First-time buyer, Mount Vernon, down payment, closing costs to help residents here 5 plus years, but counseling so people buy safely. Rehab to own, take vacant city-owned homes, renovate with trade school partnerships, and sell below market to resident buyers who agree to live there, not flip. Legal ADUs, backyard, attic, basement units with safety codes so owners can offset mortgages, and add a gentle regulated density, share equity, community land trust pilots, so affordability lasts for the next family, not just the first. Permit, fast track, and pre-approved plan sets for small rehabs, days, not months. Time is money, and delays kill deals. Give families like mine fair shot to buy here and watch loyalty and the tax base grow. Corruption, quit the expletive, please. The federal subpoenas, this unpaid school funds, the consulting contracts is all out there. The city doesn't have a bad reputation. It has a well-earned one. It is time to be the generation that fixes that. Independent audits of the city and school finances, mandatory public bidding for contracts and consulting work, a shared transparency portal showing every expense from both the city and the school district, tie leadership raised to transparency metrics. You can't rebuild trust if you don't stop breaking it. 7, bring in revenue without squeezing residents or small businesses. No new taxes, no new fees on 4th Avenue, just smarter plays. Redevelopment, closed school sites and idle city lots and mixed use with affordable units. Transit-oriented development at all 3 stations, capture our community advantage. Signature cultural festivals, food, music, and arts that celebrate our diversity and bring outside wallets in. Naming rights and sponsorship for parks, playgrounds, and city events. Public-private partnerships for infrastructure and cityscapes. Full-time grant office, stop leaving state, federal money on the table. CPACE to help property owners modernize low energy costs, safer buildings, and prettier streets. I am not angry, just exhausted by wasted potential. Mount Vernon is the most well-positioned, underperforming city in Westchester, and it does not have to be. I am choosing to stay. Please make that choice worth it so my 3 girls can grow up proud of the city that raised them. Kindly, Sarah Abden.
Clerk, does that conclude written comment? How many more do we have?
1, 2. Oh, come on. So long. These 2 different. These 2 different people.
Okay, please continue.
Yeah.
Just read this one out. Stay back with. Okay, next one is from Stephen Vasquez. My name is Stephen Vasquez, and I have resided in Mount Vernon for 3 years now. And for 3 years now, I've reviewed the comprehensive plan, and I have some concerns. The plan seems to open the door in other neighborhoods for some serious issues I have noticed in mine by allowing duplexes and triplexes in certain single-family zones by right and retroactively legalizing informal conversions. For example, my street has not once been cleaned by other property owners. Trash has been laid out en masse for months outside some property streets and even on their yards. And to me, it is clear indication of a lack of resources and code enforcement. That said, how does this plan ensure that the city gets more resources to address the already lacking services? The plan mandates buildings with 10+ units to include permanently affordable housing into many neighborhoods, requiring subsidies or tax abatements that erode the tax base of a city whose budget ran at a $75 million deficit last year. How will these future subsidies and abatements be paid for? What studies have been conducted here to support this? How will services expand to support this initiative? How is the recommended use of general municipal revenue for housing financing sustainable without continuing to increase property taxes at high rates? What is the reasoning for producing this plan without a generic environmental impact statement? How does this plan take environmental impact into consideration here, considering the city faces significant issues with parking, housing mix, flooding, and drainage, and neighborhood character? How does this plan make public? Please make sure that these concerns are addressed before moving forward with adopting this plan. Did that one. All right, and the next one is Net Aguirre. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Pursuant to the hearing this evening regarding rezoning to multiple family units, please note my objection as the new owner of 16 Burkwood Road. Furthermore, here are a series of priorities that are unaddressed and unacceptable. Not to mention, I have lived in my home for less than 1 year and have never been more concerned about where my tax dollars are going. I am an active real estate investor and attorney. Priority items are: 1, nonstop helicopter and airplanes over 10552 to the point that it is impossible to keep my windows open or enjoy my backyard. 2, roads, water drains, and sewers are in desperate need of updating, including added destruction due to Knoxville Field Club dumping directly into these outdated and at capacity infrastructure lines. 3, Mount Vernon by way of Fleetwood is already a commuter area, and it will not help property values or traffic or noise or safety to make more of Mount Vernon a multi-family zoning, especially in the area by Hunt Woods. These homes have increased property values only because they are quiet and single families. 10552 pays the bulk of Mount Vernon taxes, and we will all flee if this plan proceeds. Please confirm receipt of this objection from me, Nanette Aguirre, Esquire. Okay. The next one is from Gabriel Thompson. To the Mount Vernon City Council and Planning Department. The so-called Envision Mount Vernon Comprehensive Plan is nothing more than a stealth attempt to wipe out single-family neighborhoods and hand the city over to developers looking to profit off our stability and our history. Let's be honest, this plan doesn't modernize zoning, it bulldozes it, pushing missing middle housing and flexible lot sizes. You're setting the stage for multi-unit buildings jammed onto single-family blocks, destroying the quiet character that makes our neighborhoods livable for Black, Latino, Asian, Indian, and working-class families alike. What you're really proposing is to erase a pathway to home ownership and generational wealth in exchange for creating a permanent class of renters beholden to the same generational slumlords who already exploit Mount Vernon. That's not equity. That's economic segregation dressed up in planning jargon. I could easily sell my home, convert it to a triplex, and move to Scarsdale, Bronxville, or Pleasantville if this passes. But future families won't get what I have. They'll pay more for less, and they'll never experience the stable, quiet, diverse neighborhood that exists now. People here wanted kind of density. They'd live in the Bronx. No one asked for this. There's been a little public outreach, no infrastructure plan, and zero explanation of how our overburdened sewers, narrow streets, and aging schools are supposed to absorb this density. I attended the comprehensive plan meetings. This proposal was never once raised by residents. So who asked for it? Developers, consultants, campaign donors? Mount Vernon is not New York City. We have commuter trains, not subways. We are a small, diverse town with no exclusionary enclaves to justify this kind of social engineering. Take 10552, for example, the wealthiest zip code in Mount Vernon, and is roughly 40% Black, 30% Latino, 30% white. This is one of the most integrated single-family neighborhoods anywhere in the region. What problem are you even trying to solve? Mount Vernon deserves smart, balanced growth, not a developer feeding frenzy disguised as progress. Protect single-family zones, extend the public review period and stop trying to rush through a plan that residents clearly and overwhelmingly do not want. If this plan moves forward as written, expect fierce opposition in meetings, in court, and at the ballot box. Sincerely, Gabriel Thompson, a Mount Vernon resident.
That concludes the written comments.
Thank you. Do we have comments from council members? Councilman, Potteet?
Thank you, Council President, Brown. Oops. I want to first thank everyone that's come here and thank you for your comments. I want to give a special shout out to the Planning Department for all of the hard work you've done for the past 2.5 years. The level of outreach that planning has done, over 30 public hearings, I think has been pretty outstanding. So thank you for that. There's two issues that I want to address with some of the comments that have come up this evening. I take the comp plan very seriously. I have my master's in urban planning. I teach planning and housing at Columbia, so I know a thing or two about comp plans. Not as much as our planning commissioner and the consultants working on this. But first, growth. Mount Vernon is the same size. Actually, it's smaller than it was in 1960. There was more population in Mount Vernon in 1960 than there is now. You've seen this phenomenon in other cities. If you look at Bridgeport, you look at Newark, you look at Trenton, Camden, cities that aren't really popular all suffer from the same issue. Smaller populations than what they had. And growth at times can be scary, but cities that don't grow tend to suffer. And so it's important that we figure out some way for Mount Vernon to actually grow. And I think that the comp plan is a good start at figuring out how we should grow as a city. The other issue, and also too, when you look at Yonkers and New Rochelle, our neighbors, right? What they've done in the past 20 years, whether it's the entertainment studios in Yonkers, whether it's what's happening in downtown New Rochelle, they've actually grown, right? So even though growth is scary, it is necessary. And many of the complaints that we hear about, our failing schools, our lower tax base that's not growing, comes from a lack of growth. The other issue that I want to bring up quickly is NIMBYism. To my friends in Fleetwood, and I live in Fleetwood, when folk talk about NIMBYism, it's actually not in my backyard. And so for all of the concerns that we're hearing from the north side, many of those same things are impacting the south side. And it's crucial that we start to legalize the growth that's happening on the south side, but not legally. When I ran for council now almost 4 years ago, what I noticed knocking on many doors on the south side is that expansion had happened, but not planned. So you had single family homes that were 3 and 4 family homes, sometimes 6 family homes, because the landlords there just said, listen, let's just convert this and change these homes for various reasons. So I'm grateful that the comp plan is looking at the growth here in the city in a way that's smart and planned, not the unplanned growth that we currently do have in certain parts of the city. Again, thank you for everyone that's come. Thank you to the advisory board. Thank you for everyone that came this evening with your comments. And thank you to the planning department for all the hard work that you've done for the past couple of years. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Any additional comments from council members? All right, do we have a motion to continue this public hearing on October 14th at 6 p.m.?
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing for October 14th.
Second.
All right, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Brown.
Aye. All right. Now we are going to move into our public speakers. So public speakers are the speakers who signed up. I will call their names. When you come up to speak, please state your name and your address for the record. You will have 4 minutes to speak. As a FYI, council members will respond after the last speaker has spoken. And they will address all of the speakers. So I'll give folks some time to exit so that there's no noise while folks are speaking. And thank you all for coming out, who came out for the,
Madam President, can I ask a question?
sure.
Some of the items that people are coming to speak about, I have addressed with some of the different departments in the interest of expediency and some of the residents being able to leave earlier. Could we address them as they come up? If that's possible for each committee, or is that really kind of?
No, so I think it's better that we have all the speakers speak and then the
Okay,
council members.
no
speak.
problem. All right.
I mean, what does the rest of council think?
I say we wait until everyone speaks.
I didn't hear her question.
Councilmember Gleason wanted to address speakers individually as they came up, as opposed to addressing all the speakers afterwards.
Oh. I think waiting to address everyone is beneficial, especially time-wise.
Yeah.
All right.
Go away.
So we'll start with Marvin Robbins. Marvin Robbins.
Okay, good evening. My name is Marvin Robbins. I live at Lorraine Terrace. I've been there approximately 8 years. I've had the opportunity to come out in the past. I spoke in regards to an abandoned lot at the end of Lorraine Terrace, 81. Half of it belongs to a private owner. The other half belongs to the city of Mount Vernon. We're looking to have it cleaned out, or for us to take over the responsibility, if you give the responsibility to Lorraine Terrace, for us to care for it. But in 8 years, I've seen nothing done to this lot at the end. And again, the trees continue to be a problem. I discussed it at the last meeting, spoke to a couple of council members. They said they would get back to me. They assured me that somebody would come out as soon as the next day, is what they said. And here it is, almost a year later, and I'm still waiting. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Miss, if I butcher it, I apologize, but I'm gonna try my hardest. Miss Tercia Cavana Fernando. And you can correct me if you need to.
Hi, good evening. I'm Priscilla Cavana Fernando. I live at 67 Lorraine Terrace. I am the Lorraine Terrace presently the president of the board. I just basically was here with Marvin Robbins. He's also a board member, a couple of last year. And we just want that lot cleaned out. I've had somebody come out from the planning zone. I think it was Mr. Tonelli. He took pictures and everything like that. And we were hoping that it could be cleaned out. Also, the trees, we were here also about the trees. Vinny did come out, the tree guy, and he basically said he would get to it on a Thursday. I can't begin to tell you how many Thursdays have passed since Vinny has not come back out. The trees need to be cut down. They need to be pruned. We have branches hanging down. The one at 67 is, if that limb falls, it will hurt someone or a car. Lastly, I did email City Council President at the time, Gleason, in July. I resent this email 3 times. I called the city clerk to let them know about my email. I didn't get an answer. Lorraine Terrace is a small little area. We just 13 buildings, 78 units. We just really are sick of looking at that overgrown area where if we took it over, we would make a little sitting area or a little dog park. We have a few dogs on the street. It's an end cul-de-sac block. It's a public street, and we just want to, make Lorraine Terrace look as nicely as possible. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you, you as well. Mr. Peter Trushalis? Is he online? I don't see him inside the chambers. No? Okay. Gonna come back to him. Miss Cynthia Crenshaw? Is she online? She's not in the chambers either. Miss Dolores Mack, I know she was online. Is she still
Yes,
there?
I'm online. Yes, I am.
You
Hello?
can go ahead. You can go ahead,
Okay,
Miss
you hear
Mack.
me? Yes.
Yes.
Council President Brown and city council members in the community. I was to your council about 2 months ago to address an issue. I hope a resolution be passed tonight for the renaming of the quilting room at the Dole Center in the memory of Evelyn Young, because she donated so much of material for the quilts that you saw hanging in City Hall. So I'm hoping that y'all will do that. And please let me know, because I will take care of the coalition and everything for that day. And the second thing is your streets. We got to do something. I said we. When I say we all in this together, because we live here and we care about our city. Your sidewalks, and it's not all on the homeowners and business. Your sidewalks are really cracked up. I got a lot of my friends that's older, the senior citizens, they won't even come outside in the daytime by themselves unless they're with someone because of the streets, or they have to walk in the streets. You need to have someone from DPW to ride around, give a report to the commissioner and get with the mayor and have these street sidewalks fixed, because I said that's a quality of life. I said, come on, we can do better than what we're doing for our citizens in Mount Vernon. Another thing too, what I'm concerned about, my godchild, her name is Dawnay Coates. A couple of months ago, a tree fell on her car. Thank God nobody was near it or in there. It's the city streets, because the report was done and given to her mother where she lived at, and it caused a lot of damages. She did everything the city asked her to do when it comes to the paperwork. She haven't heard anything from the city. I mean, we got to be a little more astute than we're doing when residents have these problems and they follow up and stuff, and then there's no response. Her name is Dawnay Coates, and y'all need to look into that. A tree fell, the city tree fell during that rainy night a couple of months ago, and it did a lot of damage to the car. Thank God she wasn't in there. Nobody was near there when that tree, gave way. That needs to be looked into. And again, I thank you for addressing the city council. Y'all have a good evening. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Correct Palmer? Is Miss Correct Palmer online? Is that a yes? I wasn't looking. Okay. Miss Evelyn Ramsey?
Good evening. My name is Evangeline Ramsey. I live at 42 Broad Street, and I'm here today to speak out on behalf of myself and the other residents in Fleetwood regarding a serious and ongoing safety issue in our community. For over 2 years, if not longer, the pedestrian crosswalk signals at Broad Street, Gramerton Avenue, Fleetwood Avenue, and North Terrace Avenue have been non-functional. These intersections are not only busy and dangerous, they are also a critical crossing point for residents traveling to and from the Fleetwood train station. Every day, pedestrians, young families, seniors, commuters are forced to navigate the crossing without the protection of a working signal. This is not just inconvenient, it is dangerous and unacceptable. After asking my niece to help me get this addressed and her indicating that she had raised this to some officials, still the crossing has not been fixed. Approximately 2 weeks ago, I posted a video on social media and another relative was told by a city employee that the only way to have this issue addressed was to appear before the council. I'd like to respectfully ask why, number one, why must residents appear in person to have such a basic safety issue addressed? What is the city's current process for monitoring and maintaining pedestrian signals? And how often are these signals inspected, and what is the response protocol when a malfunction is reported? Pedestrian safety should not depend on persistence or public appearances. It should not be a proactive priority. We rely on the city to maintain infrastructure that protects us, and this broken signal is a clear failure in that responsibility. I urge the council to take immediate action to repair the signal and to review the procedures that allow this issue to go unresolved for such a long time. We should not have to wait until someone is injured or worse for this to be taken seriously. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter.
Thank you. Mr. Mohammed Irfan Qadir. I probably butchers that. Is Mr. Mohammed online? All right, I'll go back through and I apologize again in advance. Pronouncing names is not my ministry. Peter Seshalis hasn't joined us on in-house or online. Cynthia Crenshaw hasn't joined us in-house or online. Correct. Palmer hasn't joined us in-house or online. And Mr. Mohammed Qadir has not joined us in-house or online. All right, we're gonna start with council responses, and because Councilwoman Gleason was so eager to answer, I'll go to her first.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having the patience through the public hearing to be here tonight and to speak on behalf of your concerns. I asked for the speaker list earlier today to see if we can mitigate some of the issues that you residents were coming to speak about. I apologize. I did, Ms. Fernando. I just went and looked in my email and it was in my spam folder, so I apologize. But I did speak to DPW earlier today. I also just got off a text message with the commissioner regarding the trees and that light, Mr. Robbins, and the lot, Mr. Robbins, if you're still here. So they will be addressing that. I would ask that you please get our legislative assistant, Antoinette Anderson's email address. If for some reason I don't answer right away, because we're part-time, I'm usually at my day job Monday through Friday. If you need more of a expeditious answer, you could speak to Antoinette or email her. Let's see what else. Ms. Ramsey, I did see your video. And I live in the area and I actually get on the Parkway there every day. And even when 42 Broad Street was being built, I brought a lot of attention to the pedestrian safety because of the setup of how the Jersey barriers were and the lights. It has been an ongoing issue. It is not something that's being ignored by the city administration. I did meet with them last Thursday. They have come up with a plan. Now it's a part of implementing it. Some parts of the plan we're looking into is raised crosswalks for better visibility for pedestrians. We're trying to locate funding to fix the crosswalk lights. One of the things that we did speak about was also pedestrian safety from Grant Street up to Cedar and from Cedar to Gramerton. There hadn't been a double yellow line. They got out there Friday morning, they put the double yellow line. I actually sat there yesterday morning for about 20 minutes. I did notice that the traffic coming off the Parkway is slowing down a bit, but that's towards south of that 42 Broad Street. But there is an active plan in place. And one of the things that the city is championing also is going to be a pedestrian safety campaign so that we can bring more attention to people slowing down in the neighborhood. Okay, not just in Fleetwood, but all across Mount Vernon. So they are looking into hotspots. They are beginning with that section, that section in Fleetwood. And then they're gonna move themselves south, east, and west all across Mount Vernon. So I just wanted to address those. And Ms. Palmer, I know you're not here, you're not online, but if you do see this, I will bring it to DPW's attention. That is the intersection of South 10th Avenue and Kingsbridge. And Ms. Mack, I didn't really hear what you were saying because I'm sure somebody else will address that. So that's it, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Box Hill.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, everyone. It's been a long night. Thank you for staying. Thank you for being engaged. The first two speakers from Lorraine Terrace. I'm actually open to that idea of you guys acquiring the lot if the city does own it. So maybe we can explore that if the better use. I would be open to that and see what the procedures are. So let's follow up. Antoinette, could you just reach out to them? And maybe we speak to the controller as well as the real estate committee, because your property does abut that property, right? And you're saying it's not in use right now and for extended time. So, all right, it's something that I would be open to. Maybe we can have a discussion about that, as well as getting it cleaned up in the meantime. Miss Mack, I was difficult to hear you, so maybe I will call you tomorrow. Let's see, and Councilwoman Gleason, she addressed the traffic issue, so I think that's all that I have. Thank you.
On Councilman Thompson.
Yes, good evening, and thank you everyone for coming out and expressing your concerns. I know everything was handled, but we do have email conversations with DPW to get several things fixed. So within the next few days, hopefully we'll see some resolve. Councilwoman Gleason as well as myself will continue to converse with them on those several issues, and we'll get back to you accordingly. Make sure you leave your information with our legislative aid, and we'll be in contact with you as a resolve comes. Thank you so much. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman Thompson. Councilman Potteet.
Thank you, Council President. We've had a long meeting this evening, and I defer to Councilwoman Gleason and Councilman Boxell on the issues that they've discussed. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Potteet, and thank you everybody for coming out tonight. I know it's been long. I'm struggling. But I did want to, Councilman Gleason, I think the issue is that they've come in and complained about the lot in that same area. So if we can get a timeline to them and maybe pass it on to Antoinette so that Antoinette could actually reach out, and then we can have Antoinette be a steady follow-up on that. I think that'll be helpful with the trimming of the trees. That shouldn't take long. So I think that'll be helpful for that. In addition, Ms. Mack, so tonight we actually do have one of the agenda items is naming the room in the Dole Center after Evelyn Young. So if it passes tonight, it will be renamed. So that's actually on the agenda. You don't have to do anything for that. The council will decide tonight whether or not that is passed. We've talked about sidewalks before previously, and I think there's a big misunderstanding when it comes to sidewalks. So technically, sidewalks are homeowners' responsibilities or property owners' responsibilities, unless there's a tree that is damaging the sidewalk, and then it will be the city's responsibility to fix that, right? So one of the things that we've explored, or at least I've explored with some of our electeds at the county level, is possibly giving us some money so that we can run a grant program, right, to assist some of the homeowners with the cost of repairing sidewalks. But I think it should be a plan that maybe we can roll out. I don't know if there's funds, Commissioner Rouse, or grant money out there for things like that, for sidewalk repairs, et cetera. But it's something that homeowners need to know. And I think there's an information gap because a lot of people don't realize that homeowners or property owners are responsible for the sidewalk repairs. But I agree with you that there are sidewalk repairs that need to happen throughout the city. Miss Ramsey, I apologize for butchering your name. So it really frustrates me that they tell you to come to city council to complain about this. And I think there's a lot of confusion about what city council is technically responsible for. So the operation of the day-to-day public safety, pedestrian safety is really falls under the administration. So if you contact the mayor's office and they tell you to come here, that shouldn't be, right? The DPW commissioner, everything falls underneath the mayor's office. However, when you do come here, we are able to advocate for you, right? We are able to say, hey, Ms. Ramsey has come here. She says she's been complaining about this. She created a video X amount of months ago, and we still haven't had a resolution. As Councilwoman Gleason said, she has been on this since the 42 Broad, before they even opened. I know there were major complaints about it, so I'm shocked that it hasn't been addressed yet, but I do appreciate you coming out, and it's something that I'll also work with Councilwoman Gleason on. In fact, I'll call the commissioner tomorrow to see what it is. The last I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, Councilwoman Gleason, the Alexander was supposed to pay for the improvements in that area, right?
Yes, so we're on top of that. We followed up with the comptroller's office to confirm how much money is in the escrow account for those improvements. We've also spoken to outside contractors regarding electrical work at that crosswalk. I have to find out, I gave them a date of October 13th to see if we could get some sort of plan together electrically, if that's possible. Possibly declaring it an emergency, that I'm waiting for those referral letters. And we do have a paving contractor in place that does the paving for the city, but again, that, to raise that sidewalk, to raise the crosswalk to the level of the sidewalk for visibility. We also have to see if there's any electrical conduit underneath the pavement. So it's gonna take some time. But we're in the process of getting movement on it, and I should have some answers by mid next week.
Okay, so if, Ms. Ramsey, if you don't mind giving your information to Antoinette Anderson, who's our legislative assistant, we can give you a call towards the end of next week to just give you an update. I would like you to stay informed. You can also have my number, Antoinette can give it to you, and you call me if there hasn't been progress in the next couple of weeks or so. But you'll have a direct contact, and I would gladly serve as a pest. I can show up here every day and go into the DPW department, all right? So let me know how we're moving, and I'll work with Councilwoman Gleason on that. I think I have addressed all of the speakers. If I haven't, raise your hand. All right. Well, I commend you all for staying this late and staying through this. It was a long night. We still have more to go. We go into the legislative session now. I am going to take a 2-minute break because I need to go. But I'll come back and then we'll resume with the legislative agenda. All right, we are back from our brief break. Council members, typically at this point, we would get into our tally sheet, but I realize that we do have some representatives from item on the agenda. So I wanted to just have a brief conversation about it, see if they want to come up and ask any questions, or if you have questions for them, so that if they want to go, they can leave. If not, they can hang out. But just to give it some context, we received an application for 15-story mixed-use building. That's approximately 262 affordable dwelling units, plus office space for church in the city, and parking amenities. It requires a zoning change, and the council simply wishes to begin the secret process for this project. And on our agenda tonight, we have a resolution declaring our intent to serve as lead agency. Our notice of intent will be circulated to all other agencies. There is no substantive decisions being made tonight. This is just the first procedural step in the secret process. So council members, do you have any questions or anything for attorneys or the representatives? All right, so we're going to proceed with our normal agenda. We can go through the tally sheet, starting with legislation and public works.
Thank you, Madam President. Item number 1, City Clerk, Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, an ordinance authorizing the use of City Hall Plaza for the event entitled Purple Lights, Mount Vernon Stands Against Domestic Violence, in observance of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. That's on the agenda. Item number 2, Department of Public Works, an ordinance authorizing a budget line transfer within the Department of Public Works for emergency tree removal, debris management, and site restoration along McQuestion Parkway. That is on the agenda. Item number 3, Department of Public Works, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an emergency contract for the removal dead oak tree along McQuestion Parkway in the city of Mount Vernon. That's on the agenda. Item number 4, Department of Public Works, an ordinance amending ordinance number 1 adopted by the City Council on June 28th, entitled an ordinance amending ordinance number 7 adopted February 11, 2025, entitled an authorization, authorizing the selection of Woodard and Curran for the South 3rd South Columbus Avenue Flood Mitigation Project under the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, Project 4615-0004 CMVMY, and also utilize their services for the Bronxville Field Club cost estimate review. That is on the agenda, and it was listed incorrectly on the tally sheet the other day. It is just a budget code change. Item number 5, that's the amendment, sorry. Department of Public Works, an ordinance authorizing the Director of Sustainability to enroll in the Green Project Manager Basic GPM-B certification program and improving funding for associated costs. That's on the agenda. Item number 6, an ordinance City Clerk, an ordinance authorizing and approving the City of Mount Vernon honorary street co-naming policy. That's on the agenda. That's the second vote. Okay, item number 7, City Clerk, Office of the City Clerk, an ordinance authorizing a budget line transfer within the Office of the City Clerk to cover additional annual membership fees. That's on the agenda. Item number 8, a resolution appointing members of the Cable Television Advisory Committee, Michael Thompson and Oscar Davis. That is on the agenda. I thank the Superintendent of Schools, the new superintendent, for his expeditious appointment after our contact with them. Thank you, Madam President. That is all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gleason. I'm going to move on to Human Resources.
Thank you, Madam President. Item number 9, from the City Clerk, a resolution honoring and celebrating Stephanie Mills for her extraordinary legacy of music, resilience, and service of humanity. That's on the agenda. Item number 10, City Clerk, an ordinance authorizing the renaming of the quilting room within the Doles Recreation Center as the Evelyn Paula Young Quilting Room, and that's on the agenda. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Safety and Codes.
Thank you, Council President. Item number 11 from Public Safety, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an addendum agreement with Passport Labs, Inc. for integrated parking enforcement and mobile payment services is on the agenda. We have Director Albano here from parking. If, Council President, if you don't mind, if she could speak.
She
on
spoke
this
on
piece of
Monday. Do
legislation.
you need her to speak? We heard her speaking about this item.
I didn't realize that.
They made a presentation Monday.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, I mean, if you need it, she can speak, but the rest of the council members, I don't think need it.
Sorry for dragging here. Not a problem.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President.
Did they have you here all night for this, Pat? I apologize. I'm sorry.
Same here. I apologize. Item number 12 from Public Safety, and thank you for coming to the council meeting. Appreciate you.
Okay.
Appreciate
you.
Item number 12 from Public Safety, and ordinance authorizing 8 members of service of the Department of Public Safety to attend the interview and interrogation training course at the Westchester County Police Academy from December 1st through December 4th, 2025 is on the agenda. Item number 13, an ordinance authorizing 4 members of service from the Department of Public Safety to attend the Female Enforcers Event, Peak Performance, Force Readiness, and Personal Resilience course is on the agenda. Item number 14 from Public Safety. An ordinance authorizing the transfer of funds from contractual payments to Tyler Technologies is on the agenda. And item number 15 from Public Safety, an ordinance authorizing the transfer of funds to cover prisoner meal cost is on the agenda. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Going to move on to finance and planning.
Thank you, Madam President. All right, number 16 from Grace Baptist Church, a resolution of City Council of City of Mount Vernon declaring intent to serve as lead agency pursuant to SECRA for a petition seeking zoning text and map amendments and related land use approvals by Grace Baptist Church and referring the petition to the City Corporation Council, City Planning Board, and Westchester Planning Board. That is on the agenda. 17, ordinance amending ordinance number 12 adopted by the City Council on June 25th, 2025, entitled an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Catalyst Enterprise, for software services. That's on the agenda. 18 is being held. 19, Control's Office, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of the 2020 annual independent audit prepared by PKF O'Connor Davies. That is on the agenda. 20 is being called for. 21 from the Real Estate Committee, an ordinance authorizing the sale of city-owned property located at 106 Hillside Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York, to Jeanette Garcia. That's on the agenda. 22, ordinance authorizing sale of city-owned property, 224 North 7th Avenue. This one doesn't say the who. All right. But that, let me just, okay, so it's in the ordinance. Let me just see. Can I get a sec to check? All right, they are all on the ordinance. All right, so I'm gonna just continue. Where was I? Number 22, that's on the agenda. 23, a real estate committee or ordinance authorizing the sale of city-owned property, 234 East Fifth Avenue. That's on the agenda. 24, an ordinance authorizing the sale of city-owned property, 328 South First Avenue. That's on the agenda. 25, an ordinance authorizing the sale of 331 Second Avenue. And that's on the agenda. 26, an ordinance authorizing the sale of city-owned property, 467 East Fifth Avenue. That's on the agenda. And number 27, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to convey property located at 16 Glen Avenue to Shane Black of SB Management LLC. LLC, and that's on the agenda.
Madam President, item number 26, you said East Fifth Avenue.
I'm sorry, street.
Okay.
Roll call, Clerk Bonilla?
Councilman Box Hill,
Present?
Councilwoman Gleason,
Here?
Councilman Potteet,
Here.
Councilman Thompson,
Here.
Council President Brown.
Here. Here. Oh, sorry. We're gonna move into the agenda, legislation and public works.
Thank you, Madam President. Item number 1, Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, an ordinance authorizing the use of City Hall Plaza for the event entitled Purple City Lights, Mount Vernon Stands Against Domestic Violence in observance of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So moved.
Second?
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Brown.
Aye.
Item number 2, Department of Public Works, an ordinance authorizing a budget line transfer within the Department of Public Works for emergency tree removal, debris management, and site restoration along McQuestion Parkway. So moved.
Second?
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Brown.
Aye.
Item number 3, Department of Public Works, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an emergency contract for the removal of dead oak trees along McQuestion Parkway in the city of Mount Vernon. So moved.
Second?
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Brown.
Aye.
Item number 4, Department of Public Works, an ordinance amending ordinance number 1 adopted by the City Council on June 28th, 2025, entitled an ordinance amending ordinance number 7, adopted February 11th, 2025, entitled and authorizing the selection of wooded and current for the South Third and South Columbus Avenue Flood Mitigation Project under the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, Project 4615-0004, CMVMY, and also utilize their services for the Bronxville Field Club cost estimate review. So moved.
Second?
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Brown.
Aye.
Item number 5, Department of Public Works, an ordinance authorizing the Director of Sustainability to enroll in the Green Project Manager Basic GPM-B certification program and approving funding for associated costs. So moved.
Second?
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Brown.
Aye.
Item number 6, City Council, an ordinance authorizing and approving the City of Mount Vernon honorary street co-naming policy. So moved.
Second?
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Abstain.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Brown.
Can we go back to Councilman Potteet, abstention because?
Just the comments that I had at the last meeting.
What,
You voted for it last meeting.
No, he didn't. Can you put the comments on the record?
I'm sorry, sure. The recommendations that I had, one was that council shouldn't unilaterally be able to pick the street renaming. And 2, that the person who it's renamed after should have some involvement with the street or corridor.
Thank you. Aye for me.
Item number 7, Office of the City Clerk, an ordinance authorizing a budget line transfer within the Office of the City Clerk to cover additional annual membership dues. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Brown.
Aye.
Item number 8, City Clerk, a resolution appointing members to the Cable Television Advisory Committee, Michael Thompson and Oscar Davis. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason, Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Brown.
Aye. All right, moving on to human resources.
Thank you, Madam President. I have item number 9, but before I go, we're wearing pink today for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Yes, so you can all participate again on the 22nd. All right. Item number 9, a resolution honoring the celebration and celebrating Stephanie Mills for her extraordinary legacy of music, resilience, and service to humanity. So move.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Brown.
Aye.
Item number 10 from City Council, an ordinance authorizing the renaming of the quilting room within the Doles Recreation Center as the Evelyn Paula Young Quilting Room. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Brown.
Aye. Gonna move on to public safety and codes.
Thank you, Council President. Item number 11 from Public Safety, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an addendum agreement with Passport Labs for integrated parking enforcement and mobile payment services. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Brown.
Aye.
Item number 12, an ordinance authorizing 8 members of service of the Department of Public Safety to attend the interview and interrogation training course at the Westchester County Police Academy from December 1st through December 4th. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Brown.
Aye.
Item number 13 from Public Safety, an ordinance authorizing 4 members of service from the Department of Public Safety to attend the Female Enforcers Event Peak Performance Force Readiness and Personal Resilience Course. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Brown.
Aye.
Item number 14 from Public Safety, an ordinance authorizing the transfer of funds for contractual payments to Tyler Technologies. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Brown.
Aye.
Item number 15 from Public Safety, an ordinance authorizing the transfer of funds to cover prisoner meal costs. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Brown.
Aye. Finance and planning?
All right, thank you. A resolution, number 16, a resolution of the City Council of City of Mount Vernon declaring intent to serve a lead agency pursuant to SECRA for a petition seeking zoning text and map amendments and related land use approvals by Grace Baptist Church, and referring the petition to the City Corporation Council City Planning Board and Westchester County Planning Board. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason?
Aye.
Councilman Potteet?
Aye.
Councilman Thompson?
Aye.
Council President Brown?
Aye.
All right, 17, an ordinance amending ordinance number 12 adopted by the City Council on June 25th, 2025, entitled an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Catalyst Enterprise, for software services. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason?
Aye.
Councilman Potteet?
Aye.
Councilman Thompson?
Aye.
Council President Brown?
Aye.
All right, 18, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of the 2020 annual independent audit prepared by PFK O'Connor Davis. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason?
I'm very excited to say aye on this. 2020, that's great.
Councilman Potteet?
Aye.
Councilman Thompson?
Aye.
Council President Brown?
Aye. Do we have a motion to take items 19 through 25 as a block vote?
Okay, motion to take items 19 through 25 as a block. So moved.
Second.
No, not on the agenda, on the tally sheet, maybe.
No, it's not on there. Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. Roll call.
This is a roll call to take items 19 through 25 as a block vote. Councilman Box Hill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason?
Aye.
Councilman Potteet?
Aye.
Councilman Thompson?
Aye.
Council President Brown?
Aye.
All right, I'm gonna continue to read the items. 19, the sale of 106 Hillside Avenue. 20, the sale of 224 North 7th Avenue. 21, sale of 234 East 5th Street. 22, the sale of 328 South 1st Avenue. 23, the sale of 331 South 2nd Avenue. 24, the sale of 467 East 5th Street. And 25, the sale of 16 Glen Avenue. So moved.
Second.
On the question?
Quick question. Are these the first homes to be sold in the past 3.5 years since I've been on council?
From the real estate committee?
From
Well,
real
not
estate committee.
sold, but not transferred. We've transferred some because of some,
But these are the first to be sold.
I believe so.
Um,
Go ahead, turn your mic on. Use the mic, Brian. The mic.
We sold one on Fulton Avenue to, the one that was emergency demolition.
Ah, yes, we
Yeah,
did.
that's the
Yep.
one that I recall.
Yeah, you're right.
I just want to note the progress that city government's making. We get lambasted for the things that we don't do, but we don't celebrate the things that we actually do. So these items show the work that we're actually doing, that we're actually moving the mechanisms of being able to dispose of city-owned property and also go after tax liens. So that was it. Thank you.
Roll call.
Councilman Box Hill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gleason?
Aye.
Councilman Potteet?
Aye.
Councilman Thompson?
Aye.
Council President Brown?
Aye. That concludes the agenda. Are there any comments from council members? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Councilman Box Hill?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Councilwoman Gleason?
Aye.
Councilman Potteet?
Aye.
Councilman Thompson?
Aye.
Council President Brown?
Aye. Have a great night, Mount Vernon.